We're in the studio with Dave Clippert from the Pettis County Emergency Management Agency to talk about this weekend's ice storm.
This is probably going to be the most ice we've seen in a number of years, but it's not going to be, if you were in Kansas City back in 2002, we're not looking at getting that type of ice storm. But we're still going to get a significant amount, and it is ranging anywhere from a half inch up to an inch on the kind of the high side. And, that's an awful lot of ice, and it can cause a lot of problems.
Well, and it doesn't take a lot of ice to cause problems.
It does not. Even a very light freezing drizzle that puts a glaze on the roads will cause there will be a lot of accidents when that happens. A lot of people off in ditches and running into each other. Luckily, as far as ambulances and fire trucks go, they have a chain system build up that they can turn it on, and as the tires hit the ground, that chain is on the tire, so that the chain spins underneath of it, and so it's on there. So that does help them get around, but they still have to greatly reduce their speed, and so response times can take a little bit longer, and so it does affect everything. I'm not sure about police cars and law enforcement vehicles, what all they have on those, but it does affect, and it is going to affect emergency responders. The Public Works Department, our street crews, here, especially here inside the city limits, will be out, and they're going to be working to put stuff on the streets. They will, use whatever their formula is to decide whether they're going to put salt down or sand down or whatever. But they will be out, and they will be doing everything they can to get these roads clear. They've activated the emergency snow routes, and that's really specifically to get emergency vehicles around town. And so they'll be out, they'll be doing this, and we just kind of hope everything comes together and works. There's going to be problems, but I think we're ready for this. Power companies will get out, and they will get out quickly. The problem is that this whole thing is widespread across the whole state of Missouri. So a lot of places where after a tornado, there would be lots of mutual aid coming in from other places. Well, that's going to take a while for that to happen. But I will tell you, restoring electricity is a tricky business to begin with. And then when you add in the elements, it can become a dangerous job. And so these guys, these folks, these linemen get out there, they work, and they work hard, and they're doing everything they possibly can for a long number of hours to get power back up. But don't be surprised if in some areas you look across the street and say they have power, but you don't. And that's not because they're ignoring your neighborhood. It means that line that feeds that neighborhood is now back up, and yours is not. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to think that that's across the street, but that is how the grid is set up.
You would hope at this point no one needs to make a grocery run, but that might be the case. Good idea to have some stuff you don't have to cook.
Exactly. I have, even if you don't particularly like it, tuna. I have tuna. There is canned and packaged salmon and things like that you can get peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I have microwavable stuff if we have power. And, if by chance that goes down, I have stuff I can just rip open and I can eat from there. So you want to make sure that you have enough food to sustain you, everybody in your family. We always suggest about 3 days worth, and don't forget you got to have water. And so having the water, and then don't forget you have pets, because they're going to be hungry too, and they're going to need water. The more ice that we get, the more damage that can do to the electrical grid system. And so an inch of ice is going to do a lot of damage, and it is going to take a while to get that back up. So remembering that, but also remembering that by Sunday afternoon, our temperatures are starting to climb back up. And I think by Monday, we're looking into the 40s. And so, we may be able to get out and get around at that point, but be very cautious and look out for down power lines. There may be trees and stuff blocking the road that we haven't been able to get to at this point. So just keep an eye on that and drive carefully and safely, and realize there could probably still be some slick patches out there, but nothing like, we lose all the power and now we're going to be in the teens. So it's, I think we'll recover a lot quickly after that. We want to try to make sure that we're not just making 911 calls all the time. If you got power outage, report it to your power provider. You can get online, you can find their number that you need to report that to. Don't be surprised if you don't get answered right away. Because there are going to be a lot of phone calls. KCP and almost their area is under this threat. So just be aware. They probably know at this point, but if you do see a down power line, you do see a tree that's blocking a road, call that in and let them know. They'll probably tell you after a little while, we got it. It's already been reported. So, and then be careful. Don't go out there and think you're going to do something, because that power line could still very well be active. This is not a catastrophe. A catastrophe is when we get an inch of ice, it tears down the grid, and then we go into, it's 10 degrees out or below, and that becomes a catastrophe. So this is not going to be a catastrophe. This is doable. We're going to get through this. If luck is with us, we'll get a whole lot less than what we think we might get, and so that'd be great. And if your power stays on, then that's great. I would suggest that you stay home, unless you absolutely positively there is no other choice. I've got to get out and I've got to go over here. But I will tell you that if you don't have chains or studded tires, you're probably not going to go very far, and you're probably going to run a good risk of you're going to go into a ditch. Or so forth,
or a building, or another car, or anything,
or another car, or something, and so a tree. So if you absolutely don't have to be out, don't be out. That helps the city crews get out and get the things done. That helps the law enforcement and the fire and the EMS be able to get, because they don't have traffic in their way now. And it slows down their calls, if there's not a bunch of accidents all over the place. So just don't be in a panic. Make sure you have some food, you got blankets, some games or books to read to kind of occupy you a little bit until this passes, and then on Monday we'll be all right. And if you're ill and you need help, don't hesitate to call 911. Somebody's going to get there to you. And so don't hesitate that. Don't think, I don't want to get these folks out. If you need it, you call 911 and you'll get some assistance.